Top of the afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We have a little treat. Well, I have a little treat, for me anyway. We have a pretty new MS500 on the left and a pretty new ms400 on the right. The 500 is completely stock. The 400 is in the Psy-Ko S trim, but we're testing some alternate air filtration system, so I'm kind of hopeful that this will be a good representation of what's happening. The 400's pretty warmed up, and so with that mag piston I like to kind of get busy. Maybe we'll have a combo while we're changing the bar and chain. Sounds like everybody's getting in the activity mode now that spring has finally sprung and things have worn up a little bit here. So I can't say it oils the best. We're looking at about 25 inches across right there. The 500i is going to have probably a little bit of the worst of it because there's getting to be a little bit bigger knot right there. Before I forget, we'll take a look at the stops on this particular chain. We have an Oregon gauge it. The hole on the left, immediately to the right, talks about, or basically stamped in there, this is a 60 thousandths version. I think that's the lowest that they make. So this chain was one of the ones that came out of the boneyard. I'm not seeing where the stops are above the hat at this point. We'll check the other tooth. Same kind of a concept. So stops are down a long ways. Has everything to do with the angles in the process. I run my stops down quite a ways. That's purposeful. Essentially what we can get is a more aggressive chain, which I happen to prefer on a personal level. That means that once you dog in, it's not that hard to stop the chain if you want to put a bunch of pressure on the handlebar and or the pistol grip. But if you just let the saw do the work, it'll feed. Personally, that's how I like my chains to be set up. This is a little bit of a different location, and so the wood's a little bit different than some of the other stuff that I was dealing with. In a way, we have some inland pine, that we're sawing on right now with some Mondo knots. I can't say this wood is super soft, even though technically it's considered a soft wood. It actually has some toughness to it, but I tweaked my grind one time to this point. I'm gonna be playing around with that later after I get some of this air filtration and saw testing done, to kind of give an idea on, or give me an idea on what I need to do to alter it. I think I've talked about this before. I've seen personally where you can go from one side of the ridge to the other. We're talking, you know, acres and acres of ground, not like you're in a 1 acre parcel on one side and maybe a 1 acre parcel on the other. I'm talking about like, you know, 10, 20, 30, 50 acres or something like that. You go from one side of the ridge to the other, and lo and behold, your chains aren't cutting quite the same. They may or may not be cutting better, but they're not cutting quite the same. I've seen that over the years. It's just kind of the way that it goes. Now, the 500i's claim to fame is it has a pretty decent amount of horsepower and it's pretty lightweight. If we want to talk about bore and stroke numbers, we have a 50 millimeter bore in the 400 by a 34 millimeter stroke. In the 500i, we have a 54 millimeter bore by 36.4 millimeter stroke, as far as I can tell, based on getting the 79.2cc number that they have printed in this, or for this saw, I guess technically. The 400 is 66.8cc, so it's almost 67. For as light as the thing is, it's a nice running little saw from what I can gather. It's not technically in the 60cc range like say 562 and I don't know, the 6100 Dolmar, as well as the 362, as well as the 620 Echo, but it's in the same weight as some of those. It weighs less than a couple of them. It weighs a little bit more than the 362, about 4/10 of a pound, I think it was. I'm not liking this at the moment. I can see I'm a little bit off with my hole. That's what's going on there. It's too bad somebody didn't warn me of that. Right? The funny thing is I've been saw testing all day. There hasn't been any racket whatsoever out here. And I think this is probably the feature film situation for the day for me on a personal level. And lo and behold, we're getting a bunch of extra racket, but I'm dealing with some time crunch situations where I have to get this 500 taken apart and get it ready to go back to the owner at some point soon rather than late. We have 6.8 horsepower factory rated, and by the same factory we have 5.4. I'm gonna warm this 500i up off camera. Yeah, I could tell that 500i was having a hard time getting through that process, and we can see why. At about 8 o'clock there's a knot that it was ripping through. We're probably about 8 inches with that situation right there. I'm gonna rebar up the 400. I might just run it one more time in the same form that it is right there and see what it looks like in comparison to the last test session, and then maybe swap out that air cleaner for another little run. Okay, so we're getting into something hard down over on the other side. I felt the chain kind of get a hold of it, and it took me just a little bit longer to get through that cut in the end. .25½. It's getting kind of funny in shape. We ripped through that knot. I think the 400 got the worst of it, so if it runs the same time-wise, I'm going to be like super thankful. I'm going to swap out this AM number 1 air cleaner check for AM number 4 air cleaner check and see if it makes a difference. Okay then, everybody's getting in the activity mode. Super awesome spring day that we're having. My neighbors are cool. Lots of saw activity. This run had the worst of it in my humble opinion for the 400. We can see a lot of knot hanging out there on the 3 o'clock. So what is that, 6 inches? It's like about 5 3/4. I'm kind of thinking that with the little tapered conical style filter that it runs the best. From what I can tell on my testing, I'm not really positive, but it sure feels like it runs stronger. And we saw that getting into that knot in the first going down session with the 400. The chain stalled. Like I said, I run my stops down a long ways, and it's not hard to stop the chain if you want to. At the same time, when you dog in, you can just let the thing feed by itself and it does fine. But anyway, long session of testing. Super glad we had this 500 show up when it did. Thanks for watching this session. Have a blessed day wherever you might be on God's green earth.